Welcome to Speedway Harley-Davidson. Today we're going to be comparing the new 2022 Nightster and the 2021 Iron 883. Now this video is going to be a little bit longer than our typical videos because we're going to be riding the Nightster as well as the Iron 883 in this video. Now first things first, let's look at the appearances of the two bikes. As you see here, this is going to be your Harley-Davidson Sportster, the traditional look everyone's used to seeing. It comes with the Evo motor and has been manufactured for quite some time. If you look at the appearance of the bike, it has that classic cruiser look. You're going to get mid controls, but they do have options for you to have forward controls on this bike as well. You got your halogen headlight as well as halogen blinkers. You have that stylish peanut tank on here. You got your solo seat as well as that Evo motor, which sounds amazing, especially after you throw some pipes on this bike. This unit is belt drive as well. The speedometer is located right in the center of your handlebars, but there are so many different aftermarket options to relocate your speedometer to different locations. And I'm going to point out something that you're going to notice a huge difference on the Nightster: the controls, as far as how these are set up. You got your left blinker here, your right blinker there, your run and stop buttons right there, as well as with the crank button located right there. Then you also have your hazards right here as well. You got the option to cycle through different options on the display right here, your high beam, low beam, and your horn. Now let's walk around the bike really quickly, give you a look of it, and I'm gonna want y'all to comment down below on your impressions on which style do you prefer. So let's head over here to the Nightster, the 2022 Nightster. The first thing I noticed upon walking up to this bike is the size differences between the two. This bike does seem to be a little bit larger. You're also going to notice that this bike has a radiator, which the Iron 883 does not. You also have a cowl over the headlight, which the Iron doesn't, but they do sell aftermarket parts to put that on there. The belt drive on this motorcycle is actually on the left side of the bike, versus on the Iron, it's on your right side. It still has mid controls, just like the Iron 883. And one of the biggest differences is it still has that peanut kind of shaped tank, but this isn't a tank. This is more like an air box. Your tank is actually located down here under the seat. This bike is also going to come with LED lighting. You got your LED headlight, LED turn signals, as well as LED brake lights, full LED lighting around the unit. You got a different speedometer, but it's still located in the center of the handlebars. And now let's take a look at the controls. Harley went with your more traditional controls that most metric motorcycles have, as far as your blinkers being right here on one side, where you just click it to the left to get your left turn signal. You press it in to stop turn signals, and you press it to the right to get your right turn signal. You got your option to cycle through your display options there. You got your horn. Your high beam and flashers are located right here, which can be depressed with your index finger. And when you look over here, as far as the controls, the run, start, and stop button is in a different location. It's right here. You flick this switch down to get it into run mode, and you press that center button in to start it. You also got your traction control option right here, your option to go through your different modes, as well as your hazard button located there. So what I'm gonna do now is walk around the bike so you can get a thorough look of her, and let me know your thoughts and impressions on the look of the Nightster versus the Iron 883. And we'll run back over here real quick. That's the Iron 883 right there. Now both bikes are in stock configuration. We're going to do a real quick crank up so you can see how they sound. Okay, let's get geared up, and we're gonna take out the Iron 883 first. Okay, we are almost geared up. Just get these gloves on, and we're gonna take the Iron 883 for a short spin and talk to you about it. All right, best practices: throw the bike in neutral before you crank it up. When you turn on the ignition, give it time to prime. All right, and then you go ahead and crank that run switch. There we go. I always like to give it a few seconds to warm up, depending on what temperature it is outside. It's definitely a warm one today. Alrighty, and we're off. So we're gonna go down the back streets here real briefly, take it for a quick spin. All right, now do remember that this Iron 883 is in stock configuration, fully stock. It has your stock exhaust pipe on it. No aftermarket features such as a high flow air filter, no tune on it, anything like that. Now, just so we can create a base point, I myself am 6 foot tall and I weigh over 200 pounds. We're not going to say the exact weight, but I got some weight on me. We're headed uphill on this Iron 883, and I feel like I have plenty of power to get uphill on it. The lean angle on this bike it's good. I have seen better as far as the lean angle, or feeling more comfortable on some of the other bikes as far as how far I can lean them over. As far as seating position, for myself, because I own an Iron 883 as well that's been fully modified, this one in the stock configuration, being 6 feet tall, I do feel like it is on the smaller side. It does feel just a tad cramped as far as with the mid controls. I feel like if you're a taller individual, you're definitely going to want to go with forward controls or change your seat and handlebar setup so it feels like you got a little bit more room on the bike. Let's test it in these corners here. The bike weighs 564 pounds in operating condition, and you're getting about 54 foot-pounds of torque in its stock configuration. So, you know, remember those numbers, because I'm going to give you the Nightster's numbers when we jump on that. Okay, we're going to circle back down here. I am not the greatest at performing U-turns, but we're going to see how much maneuverability. And we were able to do the U-turn without putting the foot down at all. So the bike's definitely capable on city streets or in that urban environment where streets may be more narrow, or you may need to do some maneuvering or some U-turns. You can definitely do that with no problem on this Iron 883. The bike does not feel underpowered at all. Now, does it feel extremely powerful like some of the other bikes that I've ridden? No, not at all, by no means at all. But the great thing about that is, since this bike has been around for so long, there's a lot of upgrades you can do to this bike to add some performance to it. Harley-Davidson offers engine upgrades such as 1250 kits. There's even aftermarket providers that offer those kits as well. And you can do things like tune it, put a different air filter on, a different exhaust. All of those little minor adjustments are going to make the bike perform a little bit better. The good thing is, since this bike has been around for so long, there's a ton of aftermarket options that aren't very costly. So therefore, it's very cost effective to be able to upgrade your Sportster Iron 883. And a few of the things I will upgrade immediately, just depending on your size and how you want your bike set up, is handlebars and seat. Now, the feel of the bike as far as how it rides, the suspension, all of that, it feels like your typical cruiser. Nothing overly comfortable, nothing overly uncomfortable either. You do get some vibration because you do have that Evo motor in here, and it's not going to be as smooth as something like a Milwaukee 8 engine or that new Revolution motor. You definitely feel like you're on a motorcycle. You're feeling that vibration. And when you put on an aftermarket exhaust, you may feel it even more. But the sound that's going to come out of it once you do that, oh my God, it's worth it. It's worth it. And some people like that vibration, because that vibration, it kind of like makes the motorcycle feel alive, in my opinion. It brings it to life. Now, the grips on the bike, it comes with your just standard Harley-Davidson grips. They're not the most comfortable in the world. I definitely would advise upgrading those. You know, they're kind of hard. They're not as sticky as I would like to see them, but there's so many aftermarket grips for these type of motorcycles that I'm pretty sure everyone's going to update grips, or upgrade grips, I'm sorry. Now, when you roll on the throttle, it's nothing that's too aggressive, that's going to like throw you back into the saddle. It's just a smooth roll on. This is a cruiser that I feel like would be perfect for the urban environment, getting around in uptown or downtown, just going around, even though I don't encourage it, but going bar hopping, things like that, going out to make a few runs or errands. If you're on the coast, you want to take a ride down the coast, perfect option for that. This bike is also one of those motorcycles that's kind of a lot of people's entryway into the Harley-Davidson brand. And the fact that it's been around so long, you know you're going to get a solid machine with a solid, dependable engine. Yeah, it'll go too. It'll definitely go. I want to get some pictures of the bike real quick before I head back over to the dealership, but I don't want to bore y'all with that. So let's go ahead and grab the Nightster. Okay, so now we're going to take out the 2022 Nightster. Kickstand up. Best practices, put the bike in neutral. All right, we are in neutral. I'm going to start off in road mode, which it's in right now. Now, one thing I'll tell you immediately upon starting up the Nightster is there's a huge difference in the sound that you're going to get out of the motor. Let me lift the shield. I'm not sure if you can hear it there, but it's a huge difference in the sound that the Evo motor produces versus the Revolution Max motor. And we're off. Now, when it comes to doing turn signals, you do got to readjust, because I'm used to a turn signal being on each side of the handlebars. And what I'll tell you immediately is there's a huge difference when it comes to performance between this motorcycle and the 883. Now, as far as going up the hill here, you definitely feel more power, like it has a lot more power to pull you up a hill. The lean angle feels better on this bike, and the bike in general feels more nimble than the 883. And that could be because of the weight difference of this bike versus the 883. So we're going to switch her over to sport mode, the fun mode. We're going to take the same route. Immediately upon switching into sport mode, you feel a huge difference in the performance of this bike. Now, one thing I did not talk about on the Iron 883 is the fact that that motorcycle has a 5-gear transmission, or a 5-speed transmission. This one has a 6-speed transmission. Whoa. The performance of this, it's night and day.
And the fact that this bike is actually lighter than the Iron 883, coming in at 400, I believe it's 481 pounds in operating condition, and it has a 70 foot-pounds of torque, it's going to be more power coming out of this bike. You're going to feel it a lot more too. All right, let's circle back. This bike feels just as nimble as far as being able to turn and make those U-turns, especially if you're in a city environment where you got to do U-turns quite a bit, or you're on these smaller roads like I'm on here today. Another thing is the seating position of this motorcycle. Again, I'm 6 feet tall, but this bike has a lot more room than the Iron 883. I don't feel cramped up at all. Now, could it use some higher handlebars and maybe a different seat? Definitely. The seat on this bike, I feel like, should have more lower lumbar support, especially due to the amount of torque that's coming out of it and the performance of it. But initially, it's going to feel more roomy, which in turn is going to make you ride it farther distances. You're going to be out on it a lot longer because you're going to be more comfortable. Now, could I ride this bike in its stock configuration? Definitely. I would not have to upgrade the bars, the seat, the move my foot pegs forward immediately. Even being 6 feet tall, I could ride this bike for an extended period of time and still feel comfortable. Now, where the Iron 883 excels against this motorcycle is going to be in the fact that there's a lot more aftermarket parts when it comes to that motorcycle, and the sound of the bike. The Evo motor is going to be one of your best sounding engines, in my opinion, out of all of the Harley-Davidson motors. This bike, you're not getting that vibration. It feels a lot more refined. The motor sounds more performance oriented. You're not getting that traditional Harley sound, the bloop, 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 bloop out of it. It's more of a like a more steady type of sound out of it. But I don't know what it sounds like once you throw a set of pipes on here. You know, we still have to see that. But as far as sound, the Evo's going to sound better. As far as performance and how they ride, this one you're going to get more out of, because you got those different rider modes, you got traction control. It's more performance oriented. It has a lower center of gravity because the tank is up under the seat, so it feels a lot lighter and more nimble when you're flicking it side to side, which means you'll probably be more likely to want to take this up to the canyons and do some carving. The styling of this bike, they hit it. Like, it's a beautiful machine, and it's extremely light, and it's performance driven. It's what a lot of people have been looking for. But you still got those people that want that classic Harley-Davidson cruiser, and that's where I say the Sportster fits in. Woo! This bike will go. Now, for you to decide between the two, I just say you gotta ride them both. They're two totally different bikes that are kind of in a similar category. In the end, you got to throw a leg over them, see which one you like more. There's a lot of people who are going to want to go with the Iron 883 because of the fact that there's so many aftermarket parts, the customizing of it, the price point of it. They're readily available like everywhere. You can get new as well as pre-owned, and they have that Evo motor, which sounds amazing and has been proven to be bulletproof. And then you got those people who are going to want pure performance. They're going to want the speed of this motorcycle. They're going to want the styling of this motorcycle. They're going to want the different rider modes. They're going to want a bigger motorcycle where it feels like you have a lot more room. And they're going to want that liquid cooled motor that helps you get more performance out of the bike. In my opinion, the Nightster is going to be a perfect motorcycle for someone who wants that performance bike that they can ride in the city as well as take up to the mountains. And if they choose to do some extended rides, they're able to do so. The Iron's going to be for that person who wants that classic Harley-Davidson with the classic sound, a plethora of aftermarket parts, and they don't plan on doing a ton of long distance rides. That's who it's going to be perfect for. I'm going to actually take some pictures of the Nightster over here as well. Let us know your thoughts down below. If there were any questions that we did not answer for you, definitely comment down below. Share the video, share the content, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be bringing you plenty of videos. If you'd like to see more videos similar to this, where we're comparing two different models, let us know which models you'd like to see us compare. Make sure you hit that bell notification. If you're ever in the Concord area, swing by Speedway Harley-Davidson and come check us out. We'd love to say hello to you. But I'm about to take some pictures of this baby as well and then head back over to the dealership. So thank you for riding with me today. Appreciate it. Y'all take care. I'm pretty sure y'all want to see one more walk around before I go. Look at that Nightster. Man, that is a beautiful machine.